you mentioned thinking of your reader. Do you have an esteemed reader in mind when you're writing? Do you have somebody specific you're writing for, just a younger version of yourself, or somebody you've met, raised?
Honestly, I would say it's a composite, and like we talk a lot about, books as windows and mirrors and sliding doors, and I really feel like for me, to some extent, I do write for a younger me and the stories that I loved reading, and I just really did enjoy stories of the human experience and about relationships and friendships and neighborhoods, and I just love those dynamics and reading about them. So that's in mind in terms of like my taste in books. I think I keep myself in mind, and really, I would say it's probably for kids like mine, who I feel like deserve to be the heroes in stories and deserve to not only see themselves but also be seen by their peers, and as the kids who deserve to be on the covers of books, and to have like the joy stories apart from the pain stories, and to just be important and to be seen, and so there's definitely those kids in mind when I'm writing, but I want my books to be for all readers, and that's been the most gratifying part of publishing, has been seeing the incredible diversity of readers. And you asked me earlier, like, as much as it makes me happy to have kids similar to mine, or like me when I was a kid, reach out and tell me how much my books mean to them, it's also like I just got the most beautiful message during quarantine of a little girl who said she read more to the story, and she actually drew me a letter where she copied the font like perfectly from the book cover. It's gorgeous. And she wrote inside that, she read it 3 times during quarantine and how much she loved it, but also how it inspired her to write a family newspaper and of her own. And, from, her name, she didn't sound Pakistani-American. But, just to see different kids from all different backgrounds take something from what I've written, and just the connections that they're able to make, that, even though I'm whatever I am, and I go to Sunday school in my church, and I understand how Amina might have felt, going to her mosque, or just the connections kids make. It's incredible to see that they're able to put themselves in other people's shoes and relate, and we all knew that we know that they're able to do that, but I feel like the publishing industry was a little slow to realize that or accept that for many years. So yeah, definitely all of them, I guess, is the answer. I write for everybody.
Well, esteemed audience, keep reading these books, and magically the publisher, who will have made more money, will suddenly continue to publish these types of books. It'll be a virtuous cycle.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. And yeah, there's much to be gained, I think, all around, by having books that will help bring us together. I hope more than we are right now.
Yes, no, beyond publishers' profits, wouldn't it be nice to live in a better world in which everyone was a little bit more empathetic and a little bit more understanding?
Absolutely. And, and kids, I think, have that naturally. And that's what's beautiful about it, is that it's not, not doing anything but sort of appealing to their inherent sensibility, right? They're open, and they're accepting. And I think that the negative stuff is taught to them. They're not going to think that unless somebody poisons their minds. I think so I think it's great to give them the antidote to a lot of negative thinking with great books.
Oh, rest assured, it'll be out there, probably a couple of YouTube clicks away. At any given point, they can be radicalized and be exposed to all kinds of terrible information. So it's good that they're going to have these books and a good base, so that when that poison comes along, they're going to be immune to it. They're going to have had the education they need to avoid falling into that trap.
Yeah, I hope so. In fact, actually, I will tell you, asked me earlier and I forgot this story, but one of the most significant experiences I think I had as an author was during a school visit. I went to a small private school that was sort of an experimental school for kids, and it was a mixed high school, so it was all grade levels together. And I guess initially it was kids who were sort of at risk to not graduate was the model, but they found that this community-based school, sort of I don't think it was a co-op actually, but just had this really high success rate and retaining kids. And so I was invited to speak to them, and they had all read up to, I think it was page 107 of Amina's Voice. And so we sat around, and I got to really, get to know these kids in a short time and talk to them, and, and greet them by name and have a real dialogue. And they were asking great questions, and we just had this amazing conversation. And at one point, this one little boy who had been, well, not little, he was a young man. He spoke up, and he talked about how he was raised in a family and that was very different. And he said, my family's really racist. And those are his words.
How old is this boy?
He was a 10th grader.
Wow.
And he said, and I hear things all the time like Islam teaches Muslims to hate Americans. And it was like he was being taught Islamophobic things. And he said something to the effect of, I'm just so happy that I can be here and that I can learn the truth. And it was just like everything in my power not to start sobbing at that moment. But it was just so moving, and just to see this kid who was grappling with, what he was being exposed to or being taught, and challenging that, and thinking, recognizing that it wasn't the way he wanted to think, was really, really overwhelming and powerful. So I do believe in the power of books and stories and changing hearts that way.
Well, my last question for you is always some variation. If you could go back toward the start of your career and give yourself some advice, or as many pieces of advice as you like, that would have made a crucial difference and made your path to where you're at currently a little bit easier, and might make easier the paths of all the writers that are listening, what would you go back and tell yourself?
Probably that I could do this, that it was something that wasn't off limits to me. And I think I felt like writing was this sort of club, that I wasn't a part of. And I think also I thought that writers found it easy. This is something I talk to kids a lot about when I visit schools, that for me, writing wasn't easy. And even though I enjoyed doing it, I had a lot of self-doubt and that voice inside my head that told me that my writing was garbage, or I'd use other language by mistake. And how, I needed to silence that voice over time and realize that, that was my internal, critique and my desire to write better. But, I couldn't let that stop me. But that writing for me, like first draft writing, is really painful. And it's not that writers choose to be writers because it's easy to them, which is what I thought, that they're just sitting there with a smile on their face and they're just typing and, and
oh, I know a couple like that. I hate them.
I hate them too, right? But, I thought if you weren't that, then it wasn't for you, in a way. And I think that held me back for a long time, that self-doubt, not believing that it was something that anybody can do. And I really do believe that anybody can do it if you want to. And yeah, and I wish I had known that earlier, because I probably would have tried sooner and thought it was something possible.
An esteemed audience knows I could never hate an author. Yes, even Ayn Rand. We love Ayn Rand here too.